So, it's finally over. 6 movies. 5 or 6-ish years, and it's finally over. The Sharknado franchise, for now at least, has come to an end. How they hanging down, dudes? It's me, the Media Raptor. And sorry if I don't feel like my total normal self. Few reasons. One, well, pretty obviously, a franchise, probably my all-time favorite film franchise, has come to an end, and it's always sad to say goodbye. And two, I have a really nasty virus, and it's been just wreaking havoc on my body, so yeah, I'm not exactly in 100% physical and mental condition, so what better thing to do to pass the time when you're not coughing violently or in pain every time you swallow? Sorry. Then watch a bad shark movie and remember the good old days. I don't think it would be hard for you guys to believe that I would when I say I am a huge Sharknado fan. I mean, look at this. Look at this glorious, glorious costume. I made that, and I wore that thing like a boss for years. But everything has to come to an end eventually, and I would be lying if I said I kind of felt like Sharknado might have somewhat overstayed its welcome in an ironic sense. When the first Sharknado came out, everyone was on board with it and everyone was totally pumped for it. 2013, it was like the big thing. 2014, everyone was pumped for Sharknado 2, then Sharknado 3, and then Sharknado 4, and really, if they had ended it at like 3, I would have been fine with it. If they had ended it at 4, I wouldn't have been fine with it because that one really wasn't the best, and I kind of feel like that's why they went and made 5, which was suddenly a lot better, and then they wanted to make The Last Sharknado, which is what we're reviewing tonight. The Last Sharknado, it's about time. I love that title and that subtitle and that pun and pretty much everything about that title. It is amazing. If you can't tell by the title, this movie heavily involves the use of time travel. Because where else could you possibly go after you've been to space? Seriously. That's where the third one ended. It was weird, yet awesome. So this whole movie, it's essentially... It's awesome if you're a fan of the Sharknado movies and you've seen all of them, especially if you do like a mega marathon, because then you'll get a lot of stuff. It's kind of like Deadpool 2. There's a lot of jokes and references that if you're not 100, don't have like an encyclopedic knowledge of the movies, you'll be confused by. And if you're new to the Sharknado franchise, this is the worst possible place to get in. Because, in all honesty, to a newcomer, this movie would probably suck. The main reason why I loved this movie so much is because I've known these movies for so long, so much about them. All these references, all these callbacks, all these returning characters, they worked because I knew the movies so well, and that's kind of what this is meant to be. It's not meant to be a, hey, yeah, we're making Sharknado so like everyone can enjoy it. It's for the, okay, there were people that really like this for some reason, so let's make this movie all for them. And it works most of the time. The plot is pretty simple. They have to go through time and stop Sharknadoes in different time periods. These include prehistoric times, and medieval times, and the Old West, and pretty much the most basic and cliched time travel locations you can think of, and like the Revolutionary War. Honestly, I would have been happy. I think it would have been cool if they chose some more unique locations, especially with the opening hinting that they were going to be going to like World War II Germany and ancient Greece and stuff like that. I think that would have been pretty cool to see. But really, a lot of that only shows up at the very end and sort of a time vortex cameo thing. That's kind of a spoiler, but I'm not going into spoilers for this review. While the other Sharknado movies were really satirical and very tongue-in-cheek, and it was quite clear they were just having fun, this one kind of feels almost like they were trying a bit too hard to capture that we're just going to have fun sort of vibe. Like, for example, for some reason they thought it would be a good idea to bring Alaska Thunder, or whatever that idiot's name is, into this, and it doesn't work. In fact, that character of Morgana literally kills this movie's pacing. What could have been a really fun short scene in medieval times where they have to get Excalibur and team up with Merlin the Wizard is dragged down by this random subplot that literally goes nowhere and is resolved within less than 2 minutes and makes no sense in the canonicity and the logic of Sharknado. And everyone else seems to love it. I didn't, and honestly that was probably the worst part of this whole movie for me, because it just slowed the movie down to try and bring in this random idea of a subplot you think might come back later, but they never do. They never bring back these characters again, so what was the point? In fact, that's kind of a recurring thing across a lot of these time stops, is it seems ultimately meaningless because these characters don't really come back. What would have been awesome is if all these historical people they meet, they kind of pull a Bill and Ted and bring them along with them, so in the end, all these historical figures like Morgana and Merlin and Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Hamilton, dinosaurs, everyone is brought to the future or the present day, because yes, they do go into the future, and okay, that was probably one of the better scenes of this movie, just the sheer absurdity of it all with flying robo-sharks. I'm sorry, that was still pretty funny. And everyone teams up to fight the Sharknadoes. Like in one scene, I mentioned that time vortex thing, you see like Sun Tzu and Cleopatra, and you see Muhammad Ali, and I was thinking, it would have been awesome if more than just this brief cameo thing, they actually all showed up really briefly to fight the Sharknado. But they didn't, and it kind of seems like that's what the most logical step would have been, to this big, completely insane ending, have everyone team up. Instead, you just see like Muhammad Ali punch a shark, you see people flying around a time vortex, Hitler gets his arm ripped off, which was immensely satisfying to watch. And they kind of go into this whole subplot again with the character of Nova trying to... Okay, I'm going to spoil this because this made me laugh and made me laugh hard. Her whole thing is she hates sharks because when she was a child and went fishing with her grandfather, the boat crashed and sharks came and ate them. And she was the only survivor. It turns out, and this is really messed up, and I probably shouldn't have laughed as hard as I did, when they went back in time to try and stop that, they inadvertently caused it, so therefore Nova killed her own grandfather. That is wrong on a lot of levels, yet it also made me laugh for a good solid 2 minutes straight. And believe me, laughing hurts with the current condition I'm in, but I was willing to laugh at that. Anyhow. A lot of the jokes and a lot of the absurdities really just kind of seem to be like, oh, look, sharks in this time period, and that's about it. Like, they really could have done a whole lot more. At least I feel like they could have done a whole lot more. Granted, we do get, like, flying robo-sharks and dragon sharks and giant sharks fighting dinosaurs, so there is plenty of absurdity to go around, especially for, the Sharknado fans. But to a newcomer who's only ever heard about how weird and bizarre and yet enjoyable these movies are, you're going to be disappointed because this one really doesn't do them justice. Really, the best way to enjoy this movie is to either marathon all the previous movies leading up to it, or to at least know the other movies well enough to know their absurdities and go from there. Anyhow, so while the writing and the characters are pretty much the same, and some of the returning characters are great to see again because I really did like them, there is also some issues with the ideas of time travel, as they try to have this weird sort of idea with their son constantly going into the future to find them, but it kind of leads to the whole idea of there's really no point in time travel because if you go to fix anything, you never would have left in the first place. Granted, in this movie, they openly mock that idea, and it's constantly like, oh yeah, time travel, it just sort of is a thing here, just roll with it. And that's kind of the best thing you can do is just pretty much go, it's Sharknado, I'm just going to roll with it. And if you do that, you'll have a really good time. Especially if you're with some friends, you got some snacks, and you're making bad jokes at the movie. As for the acting, it's literally all the returning characters. It's still Ian Ziering, Tara Reid, all the others, and they all do, well, what they're supposed to do. Bad acting, done well. Ian Ziering, they're all still great actors in the sense of, yes, it's Sharknado, so not totally sure what you're expecting quality-wise, but, all the actors are here. Tara Reid, Cassandra Sribu, Jonathan Bennett, Vivia A. Fox, Ian Ziering, Judah Freinlander. He comes back as Brian. That guy was a lot of fun. The original scene from the very first Sharknado. Those guys come back, and that was a lot of fun. And there's also a lot of cameos. I'm just going to list off two of my favorites. Neil deGrasse Tyson as, of all people, Merlin, and Gilbert Gottfried as a news reporter, similar to Sharknado 4, or 3, I think. I'm not sure which one it was. It was one of those two. But, yeah. So, yeah, there's still a ton of celebrity cameos and B-celebrity cameos and stuff like that. And it's fun to watch because you'll go, hey, I know that guy. And ultimately, and here's where the good part comes in, though. The special effects are still as horrible as ever, and I wouldn't have them any other way. These movies literally built the idea of how you can have a good movie with bad effects. That's what these things were built on. You don't need to try hard, you just need to try enough for it to look bad. And they do. It still looks gory, bad. It's still hilarious, though. We have fire-breathing dragons, robo-dragons, giant dragons, dinosaurs, and it all looks really good. In a so-bad-it's-good way. So, ultimately, when it comes down to it, though, I can totally recommend The Last Sharknado, It's About Time, if you're a fan of these movies. If you're not, go watch the others and watch this one. One thing, though, I do want to say, though, is how kind of thankful I am for these movies existing. These movies really got me into both B-movies and reviewing movies in the first place. I think I've said this before, but I'll have to check this real quick. If you go onto my channel, go to my video section, and you hit videos, and you can either just hit sort by and go date added oldest. We're going to go back years and years, folks, back to when I was doing stop motion videos, talking about, oh yeah, so there was going to be an Assassin's Creed movie 4 years ago is when I made that video. So here's what I know about it, and here are my questions. Made some Sharknado vines, some audio reviews, but at the end of it all, Sharknado was the first review I ever sat down with a camera and filmed for YouTube. Yes, The Avengers was filmed before that, but that's a different story. But this was the first one when I first came in and went, hey guys, what's up? Let's talk about Sharknado. And from there, nearly 200 episodes later, 6 years later, and nearly 200 episodes later, I'm still at it. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Sharknado, for as absurd and stupid as they are every bit of the right type of absurd and stupid. You gotta come here and you gotta watch them. They honestly have to be seen to be believed. It's kind of sad that we won't be getting any more, but at the same time, I feel like people were starting to get kind of tired of them, and maybe it's just better off that we kind of take a step back. We will always have these 6 movies, and we will always enjoy them, but maybe it's time to move on to the next type of shark movie. I mean, I did Jawsuary. You honestly think I was just going to do that once? Come on. Do you not know how many giant shark movies are out there? There's like 5 sequels of Sharktopus I haven't even seen yet. But yeah, one thing, this is kind of a spoiler, but it's a very nice spoiler. There's a very surprisingly touching, not in that way, speech at the end of the movie that is essentially a big thanks to the people who made these movies, to us, to the people who sat down, who cosplayed, who did art, who made these movies just a social phenomenon. Like, there was even, I kid you not, Archie versus Sharknado. This franchise, this idea, became something so much bigger than I think anybody could have ever imagined. And frankly, I wouldn't have it any other way. These movies, no matter how many times I watch them, they always make me happy. They always make me laugh. And I hope you guys get the same kind of enjoyment out of them that I do. So to Ian Ziering, Anthony Cifuente, Tara Reid, all the others, everyone who worked on the franchise, thank you. Thank you all so much for these 6 amazing movies. Also, thank you for the autographed DVD I have from everyone, including the people who even did like special effects and stuff like that. That is also amazing. There will probably be nothing like Sharknado for years to come. Nothing that will ever reach this kind of crazy social phenomenon. I mean, like, the Meg is in theaters right now. I still haven't seen it mainly because I'm sick, but it's kind of like a Sharknado sort of thing. In fact, I think the only reason it's doing so good is because of Sharknado. But really, I don't think half the people who are fans of Sharknado would ever look at a B-Shark movie before Sharknado came out. Just goes to show you how dumb an idea can have such a big impact. So anyhow, Dino Dudes, thanks for tuning in. We are getting step by step, inch by inch, closer to that episode 200, and I am so excited, you guys. So until next time, this is the Meteor Raptor, as always saying keep cool, and I will see all you Dino Dudes around. One last word of advice. You better go. Go, go, go. Run away from that Sharknado. You can run and you can hide, but I just don't want to die from that Sharknado. Later.